points the gun out. He hits the clip. All the bullets come out. He hit the wrong button. He was supposed to hit the safety catch. He hit the clip and the bullets fall out. But I was already hanging out the window. I had a bandana on and a baseball hat and glasses, sunglasses. I lean in. I was probably less than 6 inches from the back of his head. Riot control shotgun, and he never turned. Blasted him. I remember seeing his whole face hit the windshield, and the nephew started screaming. We drove down the block, and as we got down the block, we still heard Joey screaming. That was his nephew, Joe. And I remember this is, again, because it was during the war, it was kill or be killed. I was actually feeling very satisfied that this guy just told my mother's brother that he was going to kill me. I mean, and he would have done it. So he invited that. He made himself the number one target. So, we drove off. I remember dropping Greg off. And then Jimmy and I, believe it or not, had a time constraint. We had to go babysit his daughter for about an hour. So right after that, we went to his house. We poured a scotch. We sat down. We watched Seinfeld and babysat his daughter for an hour. When the wife got home, we got in another car and we drove past the scene. And I remember it was surreal. There was literally maybe 1,000 people. The neighborhood, everybody knew Nick was black. It was like John Gotti to Queens, And I pulled up and I asked these young kids, teenagers, what's going on here? And I wrote about this in the book, this exact moment, because I'll never forget it. I remember opening the window and saying to them what happened, and they looked at me and said, oh my God, they got Nicky Black, there's a big mafia war going on. I said, no kidding. Wow. I shut the window, and as I shut the window, I sort of saw myself real quick, and I looked at myself, and I remember saying, yeah, there's a war. I said, and it was I was like floating away, saying to myself, and I'm like this high of a target, and I'm this much of a prominent player in this war. Never would have dreamed of it just 5, 6, 7 years ago. I'm still not even 30. 29 years
right.
old.
Because you just killed a major guy.
It was the biggest hit in the war. It was the biggest hit in that family, probably almost, since Joe Gallo. It cracked their base. Some guys started coming over to our side. They started second guessing themselves, and we heard it. And we heard it from Greg Sauce. We heard it from other guys coming over from the other side. And it was obvious too. They were falling apart.
Refreshing. There's one to remember me by. Rebound. Nice. Very nice. Refreshing. Strong.
I may not survive.
Lightning bolt! My power is like a tidal wave. Rebound! Retreat! Eat my dust! Not done. Ready to kill? Strong. That went better than I expected.
Stand your ground.
Help me. I'm hurt.
Here comes the flames.
Help! Here!
You'll melt away.
Activating hard light emitter.
Shake it off.
Torment message. Rebound. Save yourself.
Thanks for the help.
I'm failing quickly.
I wield great wisdom.
Now that's a combo. Never saw wrong. Eat my dust. That went better than I expected. Stand your ground. Come here. Refreshing.
Anyone? Help!
Wash the pain away. I'm neither here nor there.
Come here.
Armored up. I cannot lose my pet.
Retreat!
Reaper, searing flesh from bone. I am the flame. Watch the pain.
It's a perfect day to come out and play at Sesame Place. Join Elmo, Abby,
Now, there were 4 hits that happened during the war. Before the war, can you say how many hits you were involved in?
Well, I didn't count them, but like I said, from a lower level up to being involved, probably, again, from a very small level to probably 20 that I knew. There's one that happened right in the club that me, Carmine, Bobby Zam, and Greg Jr., we're standing in the club. We know Greg's upset with this guy coming in. We don't know how upset. Guy comes in, and apparently he had made a comment to somebody that Greg is a rat. We didn't know anything about this. We're standing in the back room with him, and we were told to be there because we knew he was upset with him. So after he collects the money from this guy, counts it, barks him off, goes through his whole business routine, he says, "So, Donnie, what is this I hear I'm a rat?" You saw the blood come out of his face. He says, "Greg, no, I was drinking. I didn't mean anything like that." Greg asks, he says, "Do you have any paperwork? Can you prove that statement?" He says, "No, of course not, never." As soon as he said that, the gun came out, he shot him right there. Now, do I count that? Do I not count it? I don't know. I was there. There was a bunch of those type of things. But the funny thing about that is that's a rule. If a guy calls you a rat, you could kill him on the spot. And most guys wouldn't do it. I probably wouldn't. I'd probably tell the guy, maybe give him a beating but Greg would go with the rule. You're not supposed to kill somebody that, unless you can prove it.
Okay. How did it feel to be involved in this mission? The dust setting?
Well,
Process.
it's they're sleepless nights. I says it's not easy, and for most guys in the life, for most guys, they don't like doing it. There's a few that get pleasure in it, and they get crazy nicknames like the Grim Reaper, Louis Ha Ha. He laughs every time he kills somebody. That's weird, but that's how he got his nickname, Louis Ha Ha. But there was some, like, one of the first ones I was on was where Greg's daughter was almost raped. If she didn't handle the situation the right way, it probably would have turned out bad. But she handled it right, got herself home, called us. We went that day to the car service, and we beat the guy close to death. And I remember driving back with Greg, and he was still upset. We should have killed this fuck, this and that. I says, "Greg, I think we taught him a serious lesson." I could talk to Greg at this point. He trusted me. I was sort of his mini consigliere. And he always told me that because I was maybe a little different than the average man. And I said, if he had done what he set out to do, I says, yeah, without a doubt. I said, but I think in some ways it's better he knows what happened to him for that thought of raping a 14-year-old girl. And he agreed with me. But then that night, I think maybe between him and Linda and the upset in the household, the next day he came back and the plan was set up to kill him. So this was one of my earlier ones, and it wasn't that hard because, again, if it was my own sister, I would have done the same thing. I would have gave him the beating. If maybe I would want to kill the guy. I wouldn't have needed Greg. I would have just protected my sister. So it wasn't such a big. I didn't lose sleep for nights and nights and nights over that. I found later on that little Linda did, because she feels like she caused it, and there's a lot of psychological things in this life and problems and stuff. Families deal with it. So then there was another one where it was a friend that was told to get out of town because he killed a good fella in the Gambino family. You can't make that right. So Scappy had to sit down for him. And I remember, we were all on pins and needles hoping Scappy could save him. And Scappy comes back that afternoon, comes walking in the club, and this still gives me a little feeling in my stomach. He says, "Gentlemen, we have good news and we have bad news. The bad news is Tony's got to go. We pretty much knew that. The good news is we get to do it." That's pretty, I'm saying, where's the good news in that? But I understood later on, if the Gambinos would have got him, they would have tortured him. they would have left him in the street for everybody to see. We were able to do it quietly, you know, hit that grave that was dug at Wolf's Pond, you know, by Gregory's house. And, you know, that one hurts because he was us, one of us. You know, later on, Joe Brewster had to get killed. I was very indirect in that one. But nobody wanted to see him get hurt. He was loved by all of us. And, you know, but Greg also knew the ones you can handle and the ones you can't. Like when he had to kill the girl that was possibly going to expose Alley Boy's whereabouts when he was on the land, which is not 100% sure anyway. They thought she may. I remember Greg, there was a bunch of us who wouldn't even take us. He said, I know who has the stomach for this one. And a few of them went and they killed the girl. And I remember Scrappy coming in the next day after that one and saying, we're all going to hell for this one. You know. So there's, you know, there's a lot of, like I said, psychology and there's a human element to all that people don't realize. You know, those are movies. Everybody's not that cold-blooded. And I only became a hitman in the eyes of the public during the war. And I've said it some places, you can't describe me that way before the war. I didn't kill for money. I didn't kill for revenge. I wouldn't kill because somebody, you know, it had to be directly in the world we were in. I wasn't in the killing business. But during the war, if you want to call me a hitman, go right ahead, because they would try to hit me.